Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Harley here. So what I got for you guys today is from ABC News. Tensions rising in the Caribbean after a new strike on alleged drug boats. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
As the Trump administration ramps up the pressure on Venezuela, the president now says the U.S. may hold talks with the country's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro.
We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
It comes amid a massive U.S. military buildup in the region. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, arriving in the Caribbean over the weekend. This powerful image showing it with 3 destroyers in tow, a B-52 bomber, and multiple fighter jets flying overhead. 15,000 military forces now operating in the Caribbean, the largest American presence in decades, part of a mission dubbed Operation Southern Spear. The U.S. also holding joint military exercises with Trinidad and Tobago this week, a country whose border is just 7 miles from Venezuela. It's a show of force meant to intimidate the Venezuelan leader. The State Department also announcing it's designating another cartel as a foreign terrorist organization, accusing Maduro of leading it himself. All this as the administration escalates its attacks on alleged drug smugglers, striking the 21st vessel over the weekend, now killing a total of 83 people. But the White House still has not provided any public evidence of any crimes committed or even identified those killed. And Trump is threatening to go even further and possibly strike on Venezuelan soil. Now, sources tell us that the president met here at the White House last week with top defense officials as he weighs next steps. The president then saying he has, quote, sort of made up his mind. Now, the White House is justifying all of these strikes by arguing that the U.S. is in a formal armed conflict and the drug cartels are deemed, quote, unlawful combatants. But some lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say the president is overstepping his authority. And the Venezuelan government is now accusing the U.S. of seeking regime change. George.
Mary Bruce, thanks.
All right, so we see that video, what's going on with Venezuela. And this is coming right off the steps of what happened in Mexico regarding the rising up of Gen Z, who was going after President Sheinbaum. You know, they feel like she's in bed with the cartels, and they just feel like the country's just going downhill with the mass, corruption that's going on in their government. And she was trying to accuse the United States and Trump administration for those people being there, saying that those were like MAGA or whatever, which is really stupid. But, I mean, what can you expect? Am I right? But I also have this video coming from CNN. U.S. set to begin major military exercise off the coast of Venezuela. My thoughts in regards to what's going on, I don't know much, but I'm not liking this very much. The amping up of military, like the fact that we're doing nuclear testing now and we're moving our ships to certain areas, and it's kind of giving vibes of World War III kind of thing. Not trying to fearmonger, but I'm just looking at all the pieces and where they're falling and who's becoming involved in all of this. And as I told you guys before, Venezuela is not part of BRICS nation, but they do have loans with China, which would be a reason why China would feel entitled to, or kind of like feel like they should protect their investment, which is why they would probably come to the aid of Venezuela, which means that then that would bring in the BRICS nation if China goes there. At least that's my theory. But we'll go ahead and jump into this video.
The U.S. says its biggest aircraft carrier strike group has now entered the Caribbean Sea. The U.S. Navy making that announcement a short time ago. The USS Gerald Ford is set to join major military exercises that are scheduled to begin today off the coast of Venezuela. The U.S. has already put more than a dozen warships and 15,000 troops in the region as tensions with Venezuela continue to rise. We've got full coverage for you. CNN senior reporter Betsy Klein is in Florida, where the president is spending the weekend. We're hearing from the Secretary of the Army today. What is he saying about Venezuela?
Well, Frederica, there have been weeks of threats from President Trump as the U.S. has been amassing resources in the region. And the president's administration has launched at least 20 strikes on alleged drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean since September. President Trump himself has said that he has authorized the CIA to operate in Venezuela. And we understand, according to reporting from our sources, that the president has been briefed a number of times in recent days, at least 3 times last week, on a range of options to move forward. That includes the possibility of airstrikes on military or government facilities in Venezuela, as well as drug trafficking routes, as well as what could be a more direct attempt to oust the country's president, Nicolas Maduro. The president told reporters Friday that he'd made up his mind, sort of, but declined to provide specifics. Now, experts have described this military buildup in the region as significant. As you mentioned, we have learned that the USS Gerald R. Ford, that is the nation's largest aircraft carrier, has arrived in the Caribbean Sea as of today. Separately, there are roughly 15,000 military personnel on the...
Now, I know that there was like a rumor, or I think because he made it in a speech, I believe Trump had said, about their oil. Some people are speculating that that's why he's going after Venezuela. So that's another theory. Let me know your thoughts in the comment below if you think that's why we're doing this, or what the reasoning do you think that we're amping this up where we could possibly go into World War III. But I know that was one theory I saw going around as well, but we'll continue with the video.
Ground 10 F-35 fighter jets, as well as more than a dozen warships in the region. And we heard from Army Secretary Dan Driscoll a short while ago about the plans. Listen.
I think that the President and Secretary of War have spent a lot of time thinking about what is the best thing they can do for the American people. And I can speak from the Army's perspective, which is we have a lot of training in that part of the world. We're reactivating our jungle school in Panama. We would be ready to act on whatever the President and Secretary of War needed.
But no orders beyond these exercises at this point?
We don't talk about those kinds of things,
Yeah.
but we would be ready if asked.
Now, I want to get into the why here. Of course, officially, the Trump administration is going after drug trafficking operations in Venezuela, but regime change could be a side effect of that. And efforts to oust Maduro have proven elusive to so many administrations, including the president's first term. Now, if Trump ousted Maduro, that could allow him to claim some major wins. Of course, getting a strong man out and potentially an elected leader in, the possibility of enhanced collaboration on drug trafficking and migration flows, as well as potential deals in oil. Of course, all of this carries very high risks, and that is something that the president is now weighing. Frederica.
Okay. Betsy Klein, let us know more as you learn it. With me now is global affairs analyst Kim Dozier. Welcome. Good to see you. So taking all of those alleged drug boats out and now doing these military exercises in the region. Is this a prelude for something more in terms of U.S. military involvement in or on Venezuela?
It certainly looks like that. What you see is a collection of forces, the kind that you would put together if you're going to do a series of airstrikes and strikes from those naval vessels on various targets across Venezuela. Most likely military targets, police targets, anything that would get in the way of Maduro being knocked out of power and possibly the opposition leader taking power. Anything that would challenge a successor's power. Also possibly they could just go after the drug cartels and various targets like that. That would give Trump a little bit more maneuverability, because then he wouldn't be locked into a confrontation with Maduro and trying to get Maduro to leave power.
So if the U.S. were, if the ambition was to take out Maduro, that would mean that a U.S., whether it be a political or military planning, would know who the successor might be. Is the U.S. that far along in this kind of planning?
I think what we'll be able to tell what their goal is by what they choose to target. Now, they could just be putting the pressure on the Maduro regime with this huge show of force to try to get the various elements of the military to consider taking him out or replacing him. Maduro has already had to put down several coups during his time in office. The military is riddled with double agents from Cuba who are looking for just such coups in the planning. But it is also what you do to try to show force that would do something like the U.S. has done in Iran or in Yemen, a series of strikes that do a lot of damage but don't put U.S. troops on the ground in harm's way.
What is Venezuela's military equipped to, and able to do? Is it able to be in some sort of sustained conflict with the U.S., or is it strictly one that is equipped to protect itself?
Yeah, sustained conflict would be difficult. They've got supposedly 150,000 standing army, plus a number of small militias that back Maduro that would probably present more of an issue inside the cities in Venezuela. But that's if this goes to some sort of a ground operation. It is more likely that this would be a chance to knock out the system in power. And then, there's been a rebellion across the country that's barely repressed. And so the White House is probably banking on, if we push hard enough, that rebellion will surge forward, especially if people don't face the crackdowns that they've faced over the past several years of Maduro's rule.
Oh, interesting. And then President Maduro has most recently, while being interviewed by CNN's own Stefano Posaban, he invoked Libya and Afghanistan when he spoke. Essentially saying to the U.S. that, we know what your track record is. Yeah. When you have involved yourself in any kind of regime change or conflicts, do you really want that here? I mean, that was quite clever, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, also, if they do a head-on confrontation with the Venezuelan military, the military is well equipped to turn into an insurgency. It would be very hard to take this vast country that's about 30% larger than Texas. It's got a coast of 1,700 miles. And, generally, decapitation strikes don't work very well in the past. But if they can create enough friction that Maduro thinks, I can't stay in power, maybe someone like Russia would offer him asylum. It would have to be something like that the U.S. creates space for people on the ground in Venezuela to take action to remove him.
Oh, and that serves perfectly into what I was wondering about, like, where would Venezuela find its support? Is it its oil that is the leverage for that country?
Well, Russia and China have been backers, and access to that oil is important for both. And Russia has given military supplies. In October, there was a large plane that arrived from Russia, and we think it had things in it like anti-aircraft type weaponry to at least frustrate any sort of U.S. attack. But we don't know, and this is all up to Trump. He has promised his support.
Yeah, some of the actual allies, the main ones for for Venezuela is Russia, as I stated, China and Cuba, which they provide significant financial and political and military support. Other allies would include like Iran and Turkey, which have become important partners for both economic and geopolitical reasons. So they do have some form of allies that would actually help them out. And again, that could be, the Black Swan event that would cause, I guess, World War III, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't foresee like Russia and China wanting to go to World War III just because of Venezuela. Maybe Taiwan, but definitely not Venezuela. It would be crazy if it did, but they do have some allies, so it's possible that it can just amp up. And this would be, if this does, come to fruition, this would be one of those wars that would be started under President Trump, which would knock out his record of 0 wars. So I know a lot of people would not be happy with that.
That he's not going to drag them into another war.
Right.
So
those were big campaign promises.
So if he launches some sort of strike and Maduro hangs in there, that's going to present a real conundrum for the White House. Whereas what they're hoping for is a quick win, and then Trump supporters in the Latino community in Miami, Florida, et cetera, will back him, and it'll look like a win in his own hemisphere, and it will message other countries that the U.S. believes aren't doing enough to stop drugs, that they better crack down on it.
Fascinating. All right, Kim Dozier, thank you so much for breaking it down. Really.
So that's what I have for you guys today in regards to what's going on with the Venezuela situation. It does seem like it's starting to amp up, and like I said, with everything that's going on with the nuclear testing, it's a possibility that it can, get really hot really fast. Unsure about that. There's so many things going on between the Venezuela thing, between the Russia thing, the China thing, the Taiwan thing, the thing that's going on in space with the AI Atlas, and all the stuff that's going on within the United States itself with all the civil unrest. I mean, take your pick of a crazy scenario and see if it'll go there, and see if it's on our bingo card. As I told you guys before, the only one I don't have on my bingo card, or if I had a bingo card, I should make one, right? But the one I wouldn't want to happen, I've told you guys before, are zombies. I'm like, nope, I'm out with that one. But my guy would like that. Now, if it's the George Romero zombies,
will come back to life to seek human victims.
I'm telling you, they can't get in here.
I think I'd be okay with that one. But if we're talking about the remake of Dawn of the Dead, I don't want that one. Or the one, which one was that? I think it was part 2 of Night of the Living Dead, maybe part 3, where they were talking. That one was creepy too.
Why?
The pain.
What about the pain?
The pain of being dead.
Anyways, I should do a whole video about zombies and why I have like a phobia of them. Like, it's not really a phobia. I think it's more so because, I grew up Catholic/Christian, and, whenever they brought up Revelations and they would say the dead would rise, I think that's what kind of got me. that's where that fear came from. But you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment below. Where do you think we're falling in regards to this? Are you guys for Trump starting this war? I know I'm not. Or do you think it's something that's just going to pass really fast and it's going to give him a quick win? Let me know your thoughts in the comment below, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Till next time, guys.